Well, howdy gamers, and welcome back to my devlog series for Erbs 2. This one's going to be maybe a bit of a chonker, because I've actually gone through 2 playtesting and editing cycles since the last devlog. Because the first thing is that I actually made a new map. I made the new map to address some of the issues we were having with the older one. The old map was a bit on the big side for kind of what it was trying to do. Another thing too was that it was like much harder to find like loot and stuff. And another thing it does pretty well too is that the different zones are much clearer because they have like wildly different palettes compared to the previous one. Other than that, there's also been a lot of other miscellaneous changes, including adding a delay to the firewall start because, you know, the left-hand zone basically was having the fire creep up a bit too fast, and so it was kind of hard to get items from it. So I was able to just add a delay to when that starts moving and also just increase the speed it moves. So overall, the firewall actually moves a bit faster, but it is much easier to grab things from that zone now. Another thing is I made it a lot easier to like minimize the help displays. You know, partly just because a lot of the item stuff can be pretty confusing to do in game. But if you've got the map open, then you also might have someone start attacking you, and then you got to close the map real fast. And previously, the only way to close it was to press the button. Now you can actually just move your cursor off the map or just left click anywhere, and it will minimize any images. Also ended up simplifying the crafting system quite a bit. So now everything only takes 2 components. And as a result, also ended up adding back starting weapons. Basically, the basic weapons from before are now just starting weapons for various characters. And the previous, like tier 2 weapons are just weapons you can craft. And another really important side effect of this is that it actually let me improve the help map a lot. Because not only can I have which components you can find in an area, but I can also show which components are buildable by pathing between 2 zones. So I think this might end up being about as good as it gets for the Dota mod, for Erbs 2, because I can't actually do any route planning type stuff. There's just like some technical issues that make that impossible. Basically, some Dota API stuff that is broken, and as far as I can tell, has been broken for a couple of years. And so, this is kind of the middle ground here for that. But I think it looks a whole lot better. Also added some little indicators for like where the loot stuff is, because that's actually new. It hasn't been tested yet, but it was just something that, I knew, but other people had to find out experimentally, which is especially hard if, things are disappearing from the map. So other than that, did some like minor UI fixes to things. Isn't too important to mention. But during the last playtest that we were doing, one of the issues we're having was that a lot of people, myself included, spent a lot of time looking for people, but without being able to find anyone. And so I've added in a bit of extra stuff to basically periodically reveal people, which should help a lot with that. I think that at some point I want to look into maybe adding a sound cue for that, just because I feel like that would be better than just people needing to like keep an eye on the clock to know when that's going to happen. But that'll be for future me to figure out. I also need to figure out what all I need to do with the mod next afterwards, because like I've definitely been doing a lot of quality of life stuff, but I do feel like progression needs to be looked at least a little bit. Because right now, after you craft everything, that's kind of like the only real power spike in the game right now is you craft your weapon and accessory or whatever. Although I don't know how good looting someone is, because you do at least get access to different skills in that event. But I think it might be good to add something to just sweeten the deal a bit more. Though I'm also considering again trying to do something from scratch, especially because like this last week for like the last I think about 5 days, just the tools to mod stuff were crashing. I would have actually done this much earlier, but I just literally couldn't open the workshop tools. But we'll have to see. I do think it would be good to at least experiment some with progression before I really try to do something from scratch. And progression is probably going to look something like reinforcing weapons. So basically, making like a +1, +2 version of a weapon. Rather than like new weapons altogether. This would be maybe, I guess, a little bit like Dark Souls style or whatever, where you can kind of use any weapon, but you basically just upgrade it. Another thing too that I think might actually be more important, like for leaning into the survival aspect, maybe adding like wolves or other animals that can be hunted, and just making more kind of single-use consumable items, because I don't really have any of those right now. And I feel like there would be a lot more crafting in the game if I did. And it would feel a bit more like a survival type thing by virtue of needing to like gather supplies and having consumable supplies and stuff. But anyways, that's it for this update. Thank Thank you very much for following the development of my mod. Go out, play it, tell me how it went, and I'll catch you next time.